The following contest is scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. Making their way down the aisle, Carlos, Mark, Nick, and Remy, the Entrance Ramp Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Entrance Ramp Podcast. I am your host, Nick Vega.
I'm so sorry, guys. You caught me drinking on the job. I apologize. This delicious Terramana tequila is so good. Thank you, Dwayne.
I was waiting for the nameplates, and it never came up. But my co-host, Carlos Rodriguez.
Hey!
And my co-host, Mark Lindsay.
Hey, everybody. I want a shot of that tequila when we're done the show.
Oh, yeah, man.
We're going to do a weekly fire rundown of wrestling. But this week, we're going to start off with the biggest story, I think, in wrestling, and something that's been on our co-host Mark's mind all week.
Honestly, God, I've been waiting since Wednesday.
Drake Maverick versus El Fantasma.
Oh, Hijo de Fantasma?
Fantasma, there you go. I'm butchering all that shit. And Fantasma is the new Cruiserweight champion, or interim, I guess, because,
Jordan Devlin.
Jordan Devlin's still stuck in Ireland. So, he defeated Drake Maverick. But a turn of events, Drake Maverick on his way out got the NXT contract from Triple H. I think it's great. It's a great full circle story. My friend Mark here has a different opinion, so I'm going to let him go because he's been dying for this.
Listen, I'm not going to go on some rant here. The fact is that I believe that Drake Maverick is one of the best. He's one of the most entertaining on WWE. And he made the 24/7 title funny with R-Truth. And I think that him being released with the likes of Zack Ryder, a former tag team, former Intercontinental, former U.S. champion, Kurt Hawkins, Rusev, who was over with the crowd, but for some reason Vince McMahon never got behind. All these guys got released at the same time as Drake Maverick, yet only Drake Maverick was used since then. And I think that, first of all, Nick, you're right. It was a great story. I thought when you sent me the text that Drake Maverick signed with NXT, I was finishing up watching AEW Live, and I'm like, oh, great. I guess he won the title, So I went and watched the DVR of NXT right away. I wanted to see how they were going to pull this off. And when I saw that he lost, I was like, well, that's a great story. There's nothing wrong with that story. So I won't shit on the story. I just feel bad for the other wrestlers that got released. In this current COVID-19, they could have used the established talent like a Zack Ryder or a Rusev to get other talent over. You could have had a storyline, not that I would have wanted this, but Bobby Lashley could have faced Rusev in a loser leaves a WWE match. Yeah. I mean, it was there for the taking, and they didn't utilize it. So it's not that I didn't like the storyline. I just felt it was a rub in the face to everybody who did not get to come back. And they took a real life issue and made it into a storyline. That was my only problem with it.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on that, like when all the layoffs and the furloughs were announced, they, like he had his video up, but there was a little time in there. They could have informed Drake that, like, hey, we're not going to pursue you. You were set up for this interim Cruiserweight title tournament. We are fortunately letting you go. So you're not going to be part of the tournament. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors, right? That spot could have went to, other people that are cruiserweights in like 205 Live. I mean, it could have went to Jack Gallagher, or I believe he was in time. Apology, but like we had Tyler Breeze. He's been doing a lot of 205 Live. Like he could have done it. You could have like it'd been fun, like a Daniel Bryan, just as a surprise, something like that. If you were worried about that, and then I wanted to bring up, also, like I sent you guys a tweet, and it kind of sums up a lot of feelings with it. And this is from Leo Rush, and this is on Thursday, I guess. Yeah, man, are they going to hire everyone back then? kind of a slap in the face to use that as a shoot work, but I guess I'm not surprised. Super happy for anyone getting their job back, but damn, Real Trauma and a lot of others were a part of this. And I mean, that's kind of the crux of it, right? Like, I'm not angry with Drake. I don't even know how I feel toward WWE, but it's why Drake? Why this way? Like, did Drake actually really know? Like, was this genuine? Like, it's always so hard when you blur the lines in wrestling. Like, does he know when Triple H actually puts his arm around him? Is he? He's really good too, you know. Like, he's really good actor in that sense. Like, but does he really know? Like, yo, hey, we're hiring you back.
I think he did at the middle. Like, once this thing started picking up real steam behind the storyline, I think he knew where this was going to go. And they told him, you won't win the title, but we'll give you a contract. I don't know why anybody's surprised. I mean, I'm not upset and I'm not, like, ecstatic. It was a good moment, a good story. But we all know this is a business, and we all know that people are going to, take losses. And, like, I like Leo Rush, but it sounds a little like sour grapes. Like, I mean, it sucks, but you move on. You have so many.
He's been very vocal, like of his,
But I mean, I don't know why anybody's surprised of
Vince.
Like, I don't know why anybody's shocked. Vince McMahon is thinking of himself and changing on a dime whatever he wants to do, and then everybody's like, "Oh, that's not fair." Well, no shit. That's his thing. That's his business. That's always played. So I don't know why anybody's shocked. I enjoyed the storyline. That's what they're feeding me. That's what I'm taking from it.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't mind it. I'm literally in the middle of both of you, like physically on the screen and like in this topic, because like I'm happy for Drake. Don't get me wrong. It's just it does feel weird. It's just a strange like occurrence. And then so the other question begs too. I know the bell rang, but like where does this play off? Because there was stories that all the talent that got released were offered contracts, but way lower than they were even before. And I was that the deal that Drake had, and he knew this going ahead, and he was like, yeah, you know what? I still want my shot in WWE. I still want to be part of this. I'll take the small pay cut, and we'll build this storyline. Because that's the case. Like, I kind of wish we knew earlier.
Maybe, but then again, it just goes back to what I said about business. They knew their worth. If Zack Ryder and they offered him, $300,000 for a year, but he felt like he was worth $500,000 because that's what he was getting, then he knows his worth, and he'll go out and try and get that from other companies. Like, I'm sure other companies will book him, but we're in a very uncertain time because nobody's able to do anything. So I can't frown upon a business looking after themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Matt. That's how he's going at Matt Cardona. He has like I think one of the top selling shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees.
Yeah.
Like it's him and then AEW
the Always Ready, and then he has his podcast with the action figures. That's huge. People love that stuff. Like I watch that stuff from time to time because it's interesting because they dumpster dive for 80s memorabilia. That's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. And then they get special guests who have their memorabilia, and they go from there. So switching gears, we're gonna jump right into Monday Night Raw. This weekend, Monday Night Raw, I guess the biggest storyline coming out of it is Drew McIntyre. It seems like he's actually threatened for his title for the first time with Bobby Lashley, not able to only physically match him up, but he has the I'm watching Mark, but he has the wild card of MVP. That's the big thing. Is MVP is the wild card. Any chance they pull the trigger and let Lashley win, or if not win, have some funky ending that they keep the storyline going until SummerSlam?
I think funky ending because the storyline's actually been pretty good, especially with MVP kind of as a mouthpiece too, and then Drew also egging him on and be like, no, I need that monster you were, like that monster we were together. I need you to come back. Like I like that Drew is also picking fights. Because he's a badass, that he's like, nah, screw this, man. Nah, you gonna fight me? You fight me for real. And
but
then
that could also be his undoing. That could be his undoing, right, Mark?
It could go that way.
Yeah, I think so. And a screw job ending would make sense. Have a big blow off at SummerSlam. And I like MVP. MVP has been really solid since coming back. He's a much needed veteran presence on the Raw brand, and he can be the mouthpiece for Lashley because Lashley was never good on the mic.
No.
And one other comment I had was that Drew McIntyre, kind of like the Seth Rollins from a couple years ago, is, I don't know if it's WWE that's forcing these lines or if Drew has some freedom with his own promos. When he was in the ring during the MVP lounge, I saw a highlight where he's like, is this where Bobby Lashley's under the ring is going to attack me? And MVP was like, no, we're going to save it for the match. And just that little bit of like, I don't know, it just added a little bit of realism to the match. Because you just always expect, oh, this guy's going to get beat up. This guy has to get revenge. This guy has to get his heat back. And it was no. My man doesn't need to sneak attack you, doesn't need to take you down. My man can beat you on his own. And it just added a little bit of freshness and realism to the storyline. So I don't know if Drew said that on his own or if he was fed that, but that was a great line during the segment.
Definitely was.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's him too, man. Like he has such a presence about him, and like we mentioned it. I mean, leading into the Royal Rumble and then WrestleMania, like he is just on all cylinders. Like he is what you would like the prototypical WWE.
He's become
superstar.
the chosen one. He's become
he really is.
exactly
He really
Vince McMahon wanted him to become.
Yeah.
You know, ridiculously muscle bound, good on the mic, killer finishing move. You know, he's got it all at the moment. Who doesn't have it all at the moment, it seems like, is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is losing his mind. He is going bonkers. He took a loss to Aleister Black this week. It seems like the goal is Humberto, Aleister Black, and Rey Mysterio versus Rollins and his troupe. But we also had the tidbit of Rey Mysterio saying he was going to not retire, but he think he may retire. And then Dominic getting on the mic and threatening Seth Rollins. So I guess the ultimate endgame for SummerSlam is Dominic versus Seth Rollins. Are we hyped for this, gentlemen?
I don't think that's the case. I think this is going to end up with Dominic joining Seth Rollins.
It could. Oh wow! I like. Well, yeah, because what was it? The bump, right? He said that. Or no, Raw Talk, right? He said it on Raw Talk after Raw this Monday. Yeah, he mentioned that he would love to have him with him, and can you imagine like that swerve? And then that would also build toward Dominic getting the mask, and we haven't seen a Mysterio as the bad guy in a very long time.
Well, you need the young talent to start making an impact, and I don't think that Dominic can get over as an ultra huge face. He got his ass kicked by Brock Lesnar. Was a minor bit player in the Cain Velasquez Rey Mysterio storyline. And didn't really get cheered or wasn't really a sympathy kick.
Yeah, no.
Most weaselly heel that you can. And you do that by putting him with the best heel in the business right now, Seth Rollins.
And that my worry would be like making him a face. You would get that like Cody Rhodes debut or The Rock debut.
Rock, thank you, because I was just going to say Survivor Series 96, man.
Yeah, man.
And everything.
Yeah,
No,
like
definitely.
you would get that. How scary was that? You know, like I remember watching it, and as a kid, I was like, I don't like this dude.
Yeah, who's this guy? Yeah, I know who he is.
Now,
How do I care?
Who would have think? Like almost 20 years later, I'm drinking his tequila. You guys can find this in your wine and spirit shops anywhere you want.
That's the second shout out to the tequila.
He's liking that tequila. But yeah, I definitely agree. It's easier to have a generational talent be a bad guy because nobody likes somebody who's born with all the gifts. Nobody likes that at all. They like to boo those people. But then
I became so much more interested in Cody Rhodes after his debut when he like
broke his face. When he broke his face. That was perfect. That was the best.
Look, Hardcore Holly and joined Ted DiBiase Jr.
Yeah, I was pumped. I was like, yes, this is happening. Finally happened. Like he was boring as a face. Now he's like the top face, and I love it. But he look what he had to do to get there.
Well, we'll talk more about him in a minute. But like, Cody Rhodes to me, he is definitely the best face on the planet right now. But he always seems like a bad guy to me. Like there's just something about that underlying bad guy. So I'll go ahead and toss it over to Carlos for Friday Night SmackDown, which just ended about an hour or so ago. Go ahead, Carlos, take it over.
Yeah, we didn't have much of this show. It was a lot of odd, like it was like a prank show for most of it. Like Miz and Morrison like pranking Braun Strowman. It was terrible. But I think the biggest news was, and this is kind of, it's not necessarily news, but it's something I would like everyone to kind of go out and look for, is the absolute banger of a match that we had with Drew Gulak and AJ Styles. This thing was amazing. And Drew Gulak, I mean, spoilers, picked up the win against AJ Styles a week before the Intercontinental title match with him and Daniel Bryan. I think that's a huge rub for Drew Gulak, who just came back with the company randomly last week. He was just in the back, no announcing, no Ryan Satin saying like, "Hey man, this guy signed a big time contract." I mean, not going to be big, but he re-signed with WWE after leaving like about 3 weeks ago, wanting more money. I'm assuming he's getting more money because he's worth it. And now he has this banger of a match with AJ. I think Daniel Bryan is just kind of pushing him almost, it seems, in a backstage area. Like, this is the future. This is the guy. You got to keep an eye out for him. Like, he's the guy who can do all this stuff that like, and the match was like just beat for beat. Like, if you guys have a chance, please watch it. It's so good. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if AJ picks up the win next week. And then we have Gulak.
The promo where Daniel Bryan and AJ were in the ring.
That was so good.
AJ said that he felt that Daniel Bryan was giving Drew Gulak a handout by picking him to be his mentor, and do we see this kind of happening where Gulak leaves Daniel for AJ? I mean, do we see? No,
well, I don't see that, because I think the storyline with them being like respectful wrestlers, like they respect wrestling, that they'll respect the fact that they're just doing that, they're being wrestlers, that they won't be into all the underhanded tactics. You know, AJ Styles knows every trick in the book. You know, he's done it all. I think that if I'm the writers, I go with the purest storyline, because we can see a betrayal coming a mile away. Like, they don't have to betray each other. They can always just wrestle each other and then break off and do their own thing.
Yeah, and I think it could build that way in the sense that they like it's a breath of fresh air, and like you almost expect, right, with WWE, like, oh, one of them's gonna go bad or something's gonna happen, it's something like that. But can you imagine if they just keep the storyline? How many for years? I mean, for years I was thinking like the New Day wasn't gonna last because at some point one of them's gonna turn bad, and like I still think that way, like that. And the best thing they could do is all three of them retire as a New Day, whether all three of them turn bad, all three of them turn good, but they don't like ever hurt each other. Like, that would be such a refreshing storyline for them, right? Because you see it all the time. You see these teams break up, and some people are like, "Oh, it's boring." Like, dude, it's fine. Like, we've seen it depends. Like, if it's the Hardys and it's done right, how fun is it when Matt like betrays Jeff? Like, oh, that's cool. But eventually
really.
They get back together.
They're brothers. Like, we know they're real life brothers. I think that's like stupid. You know, it's not in the 70s or the 80s where we don't know these people from an everyday basis. You know, we know Matt and Jeff are brothers and they hang out. But if they're on TV punching each other in the face, do I really think they're gonna go home and punch each other? Not really.
I always go back to this. I think I mentioned this a few shows ago, that like, how weird was it when Cesaro broke off with like Paul Heyman? Like, everyone was a heel, and he literally shook Paul Heyman. And he was like, "Thank you for your service," and like just walked away. I was like, "What? Like, you're not gonna kick Paul Heyman in the dick or something? Like, or Paul Heyman's not gonna kick you in the dick?" And like something like, you guys are all bad guys. What the hell is this? Like, you're not used to it in WWE. Right. Like, you don't get that like sense. But moving on from that, we have a huge main event where we had the women's tag team champions are one with Sasha and Bayley. Mark, where do you think this storyline is going? Because in mid-match, I would say near the end, Sasha gets like tagged by Bayley forcefully when she has Nikki in the bank statement, so Bayley can put her in the bank statement herself. And then Sasha, she kicked her. She like kicked her out of the ring. So what do you guys think? Like, when do you think this is going to break apart, and who's going to be the ones who are going to pick up the tag team title win, aka the Iconics?
AKA the Iconics. That's what I was thinking. I'm gonna be honest with you. If there's a team that has continuity and could be, like shiesty and pick up a crazy quick win off of dysfunction, it's the Iconics. And then it leads into the whole thing where now that those tag team belts have a history. You have two-time champions, and Banks and Bailey, and you have it in the Iconics, and then didn't Bliss and Cross, they won it twice as well, right? They're two-time champs.
That's
Yeah,
right.
they're the first two-time champs. So yeah, like
Okay.
now you have continuity, and you have all these female wrestlers, and then you have other female wrestlers who can come up from NXT and make tag teams. Like there's just the possibilities are endless.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say, especially with call-ups coming up soon, it seems like a lot of NXT talent's coming up.
No, I was just gonna say, like Bailey eventually will probably lose the SmackDown title as well, and that'll open up more storylines. Not only for her because she's a major player now with her title reign, but the title itself.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the time to turn Sasha against Bailey was at Money in the Bank. When they did pull the trigger during that match, I kind of thought this was going to go a lot longer than we anticipated. And I just think it's going to be one of those things where they're always going to have this, like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And it doesn't happen.
Well, that was like their previous storyline when they kept like fighting each other and they were both good guys. It was like, is it going to happen? It's gonna happen?
Right.
What's going on with them?
and
Them? Like, they just don't understand them. Like, they can't write for them.
So I would see some, like, I don't know, insert a face wrestler in the program where they're going to try and tell Sasha, do you see what she's doing? Do you see what how she's treating you, blah, blah, blah. And just when you think Sasha's going to go towards the face, she just knocks out the face, and then he just solidified them both as heels. I think Bailey has been more entertaining this as a heel than she ever was before as a hugger. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, Bailey used to be afraid to use the kendo stick, and now she'll do anything to pick up a win, like she should.
Yeah,
I've always been on the Bailey heel train. I'm big fan.
And maybe they got Nikki Cross. I'm not really a fan of Nikki Cross.
I was a fan of crazy Nikki Cross, not talking Nikki Cross. Plow over you, Nikki Cross, because her like I'm not. I mean, it's really hard though for the female division in terms of having a real face. There really is very few true babyface female wrestlers. I guess. I mean, even like Mandy Rose, who's I guess a babyface huge wrestler, just because of Otis, she's not really a babyface herself. She just is brand new and with somebody who is a well-known babyface. But I can't think of really many since Becky Lynch is gone.
I mean, the only one I could see like hit like any big stardom would, like, the only two I could think of, and they're in NXT, would be Mia Yim and Tegan Nox.
Right, but I still feel like they're still a ways off from even making their main roster debut. So we'll go ahead and we'll switch gears. I'll throw it over to Mark about AEW All Elite Wrestling. Always winning on Wednesday nights as usual.
Fucking right.
Yeah, they won the ratings war again against NXT. Both shows were very solid this week. AEW was taped last week, and one of the benefits, I hate to say this, of the COVID-19 is that wrestling can be taped and leaks don't happen. So you can watch the show the way they were intended, a lot smoother than the long tapings with Shivani and Jericho doing the announcing. This was a well-oiled machine of a TV taping. They announced that Fyter Fest is happening July 1st and July 8th. It's a 2-night special on TV. We will discuss this in a minute because we have different opinions on whether that was good or bad, and I'm indifferent. But the main event, of course, will be Brian Cage challenging Jon Moxley for the AEW World title. First, let me ask you this quick question and give me quick thoughts. Do we have an issue with a 2-night Fyter Fest, Nick?
No, absolutely not. It gives people a variety, and it gives the matches a chance to breathe. Because if there's one thing AEW has been doing, especially on their pay-per-views, is everybody at least gets 15 minutes to shine. There's no 6-minute matches. You get time out there, and sometimes it can be exhausting. But having this breathability, maybe 4 or 5 matches each night, I'm cool with that.
Carlos?
Now, the only weird thing about the 2-night format is that they're a week apart. Not like recently we had with Wrestle Kingdom or WrestleMania where there were 2 nights in a row. These are like weeks apart. That's the only strange thing to me. And I think Mark, you mentioned like what having a TNT like special, right? Because there's no basketball, right? And there wouldn't be any basketball by July 1st that time.
You're gonna
Correct?
say Thunder.
Yeah, I know.
That's my Thunder. I think I would have preferred a Saturday night special, like a Saturday night TNT live event, where they could have just broadcast 2 hours. It didn't have to be 3. It could have been 2 hours live on TNT on Saturday night. And what are we doing now? America is kind of some country counties are in yellow, so they're getting back to a more normal lifestyle. But I think it would have been cool because last year we watched Butterfest together, and it was I think it was a free event on what was it?
Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
Report. Yeah.
So I think it would have been cool for TNT to give them a live slot on Saturday. That's just it's neither here nor there. The fact that
make it a dual event too, where like if you don't have cable or whatever, you can watch it on Bleacher Report because you get more eyes that way too. And like we know if you're a wrestling fan who'd like, look, I watch Dynamite, but I don't, I watch a replay of it or somehow, some way, but I don't want to pay for cable. But you have Bleacher Report, you can watch Fyter Fest. That's how it was last year. I highly doubt it's going to be gaming centric the way it was last year. There's no events, there's no Evo, no CEO this year. So, but it would be cool though. I mentioned on an off air text, like if there's, I don't think it's rumors. I think everyone's just kind of putting, it's like the secret. Everyone's putting that air out there, that energy, and see if it happens. But like if AEW really, like announces their wrestling game, that would be awesome.
I mean, that could be part of like their plan. I like I said, I'm more on the side of them being able to use TNT's ratings for a pay-per-view. Like I understand why they're doing that. Like they're
not going to crack 1 million for Fyter Fest. They're not going to crack 1 million viewers for Fyter Fest. I mean, their highest. They could, but last week was their highest rating in quite some time. They were 900,000, then they dripped down to 730 this past week. I just don't. Well, hey, look, it's neither here nor there. We'll find out in a few weeks, July 1st. The main event, of course, Moxley defending against Cage. There's no way they pull the trigger, is there?
No. I think it's another another stop for Moxley, just to kind of prove how cool he is. And I don't think that's a bad thing that that Cage loses. We've seen him in defeat before if you follow his career. So I think it might be strange for like the overall AEW audience that's not familiar with his work in Impact or AAA or anything like that. But I think Moxley retains.
It's tricky. I mean, I would like to say yes, just because Moxley doesn't need the belt, and it would make sense that he, for as tough as he is, he goes into a buzzsaw, because that's what Brian Cage to me is like. He's a buzzsaw, and I can see him running right into that. Because like for example, this week when he had his conversation with Brian Cage, he basically talked to him like he was a bitch. He basically talked to him like, Taz, I'm talking to you, but I'm really talking to you. And you's a bitch, and you ain't gonna do nothing. And he just let him talk to him like that, and didn't like clock him. I was surprised. I'm watching him like, okay. So that kind of took the luster off it for me. But I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled the trigger. But I do agree with Carlos. I'll say no. Moxley retains.
And I agree there. Moxley. Well, it may be some DQ finish. Maybe Taz gets involved, but
Right.
Yeah.
Either Taz gets involved or Darby Allin gets involved, because they're building up that storyline with Darby like. Kind of had like Cage heard him, and like they asked him, was it Alex Marvez was like, hey, what do you think about like Taz like being like with Cage? He gave you that offer before, and you said no. You think like this is like on purpose, and like you just didn't answer.
Yeah, got up and walked away. Now, also the tag team titles will be on the line one of those nights. The Best Friends are challenging Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. Now, if this match took place during COVID, I would have said Best Friends are a runaway to win this thing. Best Friends were one of the hottest tag teams during that time. They were like the MVPs. They had that Trent with Omega match. They have taken over the #1 contendership due to the Dark Order not being in attendance, being in Canada. But they've also made it a point to mention that Page and Omega are on the same, no pun intended, page. And I think that that's going to be huge for the tag team that finally does defeat them for the titles. Will Best Friends get the tag team titles?
I think I think it needs to happen because I think it does need to happen. Yeah, it's weird because I'm like in my head, I'm like, do they win it and then it goes right to the Bucks and it's Bucks FTR at all out too? Like, but that's a little too soon. Like, when do we get that? Is that Revolution like next year? Like, where do we build that? So I'm thinking like ahead for another storyline, but it involves the tag team titles, right? Because you don't even think that like the tag team titles are such a prestigious title in AEW because like they focus on so much on tag team wrestling that in my head I'm thinking ahead, right? Like who was going to be champion this time next year. And it's weird to think that way because you want to be like, well, immediately we have Paige and Omega, and they're finally, like you said, no pun intended, they're on the same page. We saw that, at the last pay-per-view, like Double or Nothing, like sharing a drink together, and they like Paige was like, I don't really want to hang out with you guys. I'm kind of like still weird, and Omega's like, I'm gonna go with him because he's my tag team partner. Like they walked away together and things like that. I think you're gonna start building that, and you're right, Mark. It's going to be more meaningful for the team that beats them. I wouldn't be surprised if it's FTR that beats them.
I would agree. I would love to say the Best Friends will win these titles because I've been a big Trent fan, but there's no way. Omega is literally, his nickname is the best bout machine. That guy, when I watch him on my screen, is just a megastar. And the first person to really pin him, because he's been beaten before, but he's only been beaten by big time people like Moxley, who's the current champion. Whoever pins that team is going to be very important. So I would say it would be FTR, or maybe, I don't know, maybe even someone like the Dark Order. If they can.
Sex Gods.
Les Sex Gods. Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised about that either. And like, when does that implosion happen? Because I thought we had more seeds planted at Double or Nothing, and there's nothing. No, there was no seeds planted. Like they were a cohesive team for the most part. They're working around Paige's alcoholism.
Well, here's the one thing I'll take from last week's episode as well. When the tag team title match was happening, FTR was in the stands and they were watching, and then they had their interview with Shivani, and they were talking. And the one thing that stuck out to me was when they talked about Hangman Page and they talked about Kenny Omega, they basically said, hey, listen, those guys aren't even a tag team. They're two singles wrestlers that became a tag team. So I think they want to emphasize what tag team wrestling really is. I think that's all FTR's ever been about is, hey, listen, we're never going to be singles wrestlers. We are tag team specialists, and we want to make that division important again. So I see them winning the title, but I don't know if they're going to be the ones to take it from them. From Paige or
I don't know.
Omega.
That was a great segment too. I want to highlight that because that was a great.
So good.
Yeah, yeah, that was such a great like just reintroduction to like them as a tag team into like AEW. If you somehow don't watch WWE or you've been like away, now you know this is FTR. They're tag team specialists, and to the point that like we're neither good guy or bad guy. We don't like Lucha Brothers. Guess what? They don't emphasize the actual hitting of hands for tags. Like they kind of bypass all that stuff. And Hangman Page and Omega aren't a tag team. And when they come to the Bucks, he's like, I want to knock him in the mouth. I want to punch him. I want to knock him out.
But to the point to say that they weren't going to take advantage of them. They wanted to get the victory and have it mean something. And that just those little words mean so much.
Yeah, it felt very old school. Like, and that's what they are, right? They're old school, just beat the crap out of you.
I know that you wanted to move on real quick. Cody Rhodes defended the TNT Championship against Jungle Boy. Great match. Next week, he is defending that title every week, by the way. He will take on the challenge of Mark Quinn, one half of Private Party or 1/3 of the Hardy Party. Looking forward to that. I don't think Mark Quinn stands a chance in hell. But it's going to give these guys a highlighted match, 10 to 15 minutes to shine on their weekly program. That works for me.
Yeah, Cody also needs to stop like bleeding.
Yeah.
He's like on Ric Flair level, man. Like it's so bad. or his
It
dad.
it was weird that he bled for Jungle Boy, but not bled for Lance Archer. That was weird to me.
Yeah, right?
And,
Yeah.
speaking of Lance Archer, real quick before we move on to NXT,
Yeah.
Lance Archer had a little vignette where he was beating up a masked jabroni, and Dave Marquez, or is that his name, Marquez?
Alex Marquez.
Alex out. Thank you. I'm sorry. Alex Marquez is in NWA. Alex Marquez was interviewing Lance Archer, and Jake the Snake. I don't know if you guys caught it. Kind of made a comment like, "I can't control this guy." Again, these little seeds that are planted by the AEW talent, it's huge. We could be seeing the growth of Lance Archer because Jake the Snake Roberts, who's been warning us about how devastating he is, seems to have already lost control a couple months in. So this is some great long-term storytelling, to quote our buddy Remy. It's great to see long-term storytelling, and this was definitely a seed that was planted this past week.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what they excel at, man. That's AEW's bread and butter, is like long-term storylines. And I mean, to the fact it could be a good thing or a bad thing. Because look at Jericho and Tyson, and then look at FTR. Two sides of the same coin.
Nick, we have an NXT special this weekend, man. In your
Special, baby, yeah.
I'm so tempted to buy that shirt. I love in your house for no reason. For no reason, man.
And NXT in your house is this Sunday, and we're gonna go down the card. We are blessed because we've had multiple pay-per-views in a short span. Even next week we'll have a pay-per-view for Backlash. So we are all, prediction up. Last time I checked, I was in the lead doghouse for predictions. So, we're gonna go this week with a fresh slate. Everybody's back at 0-0, and we'll take down the predictions and let you know next week who's won. So we'll start off with this 6-woman tag team match between Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Knox versus Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. Gentlemen, who are your picks for this matchup?
I'm gonna go with Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. I want Shotzi Blackheart to win, especially her and Mia Yim on the team. But I just love Shotzi Black. I love Blackheart with the tiny tank. It's just so cool. I love it so. God.
Mark, what are your thoughts? Who you think? The new Candice LeRae?
Well, the Tegan Knox and Dakota Kai feud has kind of been one-sided in favor of Dakota Kai. I think Tegan Knox gets the pin on Kai, and the faces win this match.
Okay.
I am split because it literally can go either way, as you both pointed out. But to break the tie, I will say the good guys will win. I agree with Mark. I think that feud has been one-sided, and if you want to continue it before one final match, you need to have Tegan Knox take the victory, and it would look good on Shotzi Blackheart and Mia Yim's record, and enrage, Candice LeRae. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk about Candice LeRae's husband, Johnny Gargano, in a one-on-one matchup with Keith Lee for the NXT North American Championship. Now, this has pretty much been like an up-and-down kind of feud. There really hasn't been a lot of heat behind it, other than Johnny Gargano wants to be the best wrestler. And it kind of seems like every promotion is taking that middle title and trying to put it on a mantle of the workhorse title. That's the title that's going to be the workhorse, which is fine with me because I think that's what they should have done from the beginning.
Yeah.
So do we think that Johnny Gargano is going to take that title and become the workhorse? Or do we think that Keith Lee is going to continue his, reign until somebody overpowers him for that title? Mark?
This sentence about to come out of my mouth is going to hurt me. I feel a pain in my chest. I am a big fan of Keith Lee, but he has been very flat over the last couple months.
Yeah.
I don't know this. I haven't read this on any dirt sheets or any internet, but if Dominic Dijakovic has been called up to Raw, there's no way that Keith Lee is staying in NXT. I see Gargano winning the North American title, being the workhorse title, and Keith Lee being promoted to either Raw or SmackDown.
I like that. I don't know about the call-up, but for me, I'm also going to pick Johnny Gargano. I just think some heel stuff is going to happen, and we haven't seen Gargano with a title in a long time. And I think since this is a fresh Johnny Gargano, it'll be refreshing to see like a fully heel. Like he was kind of heel last time he was North American champion. Now he feels like fully heel, and I would love to see kind of where we go with that.
I think we're all on the same page with this matchup. I think mostly for what Mark said, that Keith Lee was such a hot commodity before COVID-19 because of the fans and, just his entrance, his whole move set. Every time I watch him now, I'm just like, meh. And it's because he doesn't have, the energy. And Gargano can hold that title week in and week out because NXT, for as great of a show as it is losing this war with AEW each week. Now, I'm sure, most of the wrestlers don't kind of care, but I guarantee you Vince and Triple H care. So I'll go Gargano in this matchup just to put my prediction right into it.
Stone Cold Lock.
So this is a revenge matchup. Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Priest attacking Finn Balor. And it seems like Finn Balor wants his revenge. Do we see Finn Balor picking up another victory on his way to... I'm not really quite sure what Finn Balor's endgame is because ever since he's come back to NXT, he's kind of, just been floating along. Do we see Damian Priest pick up a major victory that'll put him on the map?
I unfortunately don't. I think Mark's kind of leaning the same way with me. I think Finn Balor's going to win. I think Finn Balor kind of needs to win too because I think they're going to start. I wouldn't be surprised if they start building up that storyline with Walter again. Now, some stuff is starting to ease up in the world. Like we're talking about like the real world and some phases are yellow, like our county is right now in Philadelphia. Today is our first day for that. But, what happens if like restrictions ease on travel? Because then you can have Jordan Devlin versus Hijo de Fantasma, and then you can have Finn Balor versus Walter, which was built up for quite a few months before the world took a shit.
What, Mark? Are we agreeing?
Yeah, I agree. I think in a perfect world, the Damian Priest, he's kind of in that Keith Lee category where I'm a big fan of Punishment Martinez or Damian Priest. I think that he just hasn't clicked into that next gear yet. He's so talented, and I don't doubt that he's gonna find his groove. He hasn't found it yet, and I think Finn guy and agree with Walter, but he needs to be in the NXT title picture because somebody has to beat the 1-year champ. So I'm saying Finn Balor wins.
Just for the sake of it, I kind of was leading more towards Damian Priest just because of the whole COVID-19 thing. Just because he needs a signature win, otherwise he becomes just another player. I'll put my pick into him. Finn Balor can just dust this off, pick up another victory, and march towards the title, and no one would blink an eye. He has the resume to back it up. But if you want to continue to build stars, because like you said, Mark, if Dijakovic is going to Raw, and if Keith Lee is going to SmackDown, those are two major spots that are wide open, and you need somebody to fill them. And I could see Priest being one of those people and being like a shiesty, win. Nothing, fancy, but shiesty.
Well, he's got that pipe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the whole pipe thing, yeah. So I'm going to put my vote in for Damian Priest. For me, this seems like the match of the night. Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai versus Rhea Ripley. Yeah. Triple threat match for the NXT Women's Championship. Do we continue to see Charlotte Flair's reign of dominance, or has she, outstayed her welcome at NXT and can move on to whatever promotion wants to put her on whatever channel whenever Vince feels like seeing her? do we see Io Shirai finally get the title she deserves, or do we see the redemption for Rhea Ripley? Gentlemen, I think this is probably the most important match on the card for me personally. Who do you guys pick?
I like, what? I like that. I like that you saying that it's the most important. It is. Like, just looking over the card, honestly, it really is the most important match. I think we would have had a little more Charlotte if Becky didn't get pregnant. Just being pregnant is not a bad thing. I got 2 kids. For our lady fans, I love kids.
I love babies.
I love babies. Except when I don't get to sleep. No, but I think that and kind of Naya's like what's going on with Naya. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Charlotte comes back to Raw and kind of stays at Raw like full time. But I think what we've been talking about the past week, I think it's going to be something where she still looks strong because no one's going to pin her. I'm going to pick Io Shirai to win. I think Io Shirai is going to win the NXT Championship, which is shocking to me. I feel shocked at myself for saying it because you would think Rhea Ripley, right? She's like on a torpedo, just full blast, man. But I think it's Io Shirai's time, and I think she kind of deserves a rub in this instance. And I think she would look strong, and you can continue that storyline with her and Rhea Ripley.
I agree that Charlotte Flair will probably end up back on Raw, is for the same reason that Carlos mentioned, that Becky's not there. They need bigger star power. They need a bigger individual, singles star power. I'm kind of torn. I can tell you that Flair's going to lose. I don't know if it's going to be Shirai or if it's going to be
Ripley.
Thank you. Because Ripley lost the title at WrestleMania, never really got the one-on-one rematch because Io Shirai kind of just, got put into the title picture. Now, I can see one of two things happening. Io Shirai pinning Rhea Ripley, and then Ripley just going apeshit crazy, like, oh my God, he stole my title. Or I can see the opposite, where Ripley goes apeshit crazy anyway, and pins Io Shirai instead of getting the revenge on Flair. If I'm Vince McMahon, if I'm Triple H, if I'm booking this match, I need Rhea Ripley to pin Flair so the fans can get behind that Rhea Ripley is a really true force in professional wrestling. So my prediction is that she's going to pin Flair. Rhea Ripley will be your new women's NXT champion.
Okay.
I like it. And I kind of had the same thought process, Mark, but with a little twist. I do think Charlotte Flair is going to get pinned, but it's not by Rhea Ripley. I think it's going to be Io Shirai. I think Io Shirai is going to pin Charlotte Flair, and that will put Rhea Ripley in a rage because she couldn't even get into the finish and get into the revenge of pinning Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair could walk off and be like, oh, whatever, she beat me. Who cares? I was NXT champion twice. I'm a 12-time champion, whatever. She doesn't care. But Io Shirai will have all the bragging rights, and then you have a storyline built in where Ripley's chasing her, not only for the title, but for that validation, because she may not ever get it with Flair until she gets to the main roster.
I like all our little stories too, and let's not forget too that the best thing about this match is do you remember months ago or a year ago, Io Shirai didn't have an edge to her, so they turned her heel, right? And now she's kind of in between her. She's not either good or bad, but she has that edge now, right? Now, and that still stayed with her. And then vice versa, Rhea Ripley was a heel, now is face for all intents and purposes. She's kind of had that like Stone Cold mentality as well, like similar to Becky Lynch, but she has the edge. So I wouldn't be surprised if she turns bad, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If she goes heel, she could be the top heel, and she could still be the face of NXT.
It could go either way. I mean, I think this match is anybody's choice. I think we all just pretty much gave our personal opinions of what we thought or should happen, but it's going to be very interesting to see who comes out of that match with that women's championship. So switching gears, we're going to talk about Tommaso Ciampa versus Karrion Kross. It's a revenge match of sorts. Obviously, Tommaso Ciampa is upset because he's been attacked multiple times by Karrion Kross. I don't see any way Karrion Kross loses his match because it's pretty much his pay-per-view debut match. Yeah. The question is, does he dominate, or is it a long, drawn-out match?
I think you can have a dominating long match.
Yeah.
You can have the will of. I mean, look, Kross. First of all, Kross is my pick. Kross is winning this match.
Yeah, I figured Kross is everyone's pick.
But you can have, Ciampa's been the fighter. Ciampa's been the guy that you can't keep down. and it wouldn't surprise me if it like takes everything to put him down. And that's not going to take any shine off of Cross's victory. So I think you can have a long match, 20, 25 minute with Cross getting the win. But it's going to be great. This is my personal match that I'm looking forward to the most.
This match has the ability, because I feel like there's always like an NXT match that has like so many false finishes and so many hope spots and so many like, how many Panama Sunrises did he hit him with? Like, something like that. I think this is going to be that match, but I think ultimately, I think Karrion Kross is going to win, and I think Ciampa's going to look good in defeat. I don't think it's going to hurt him in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, Karrion gets he gets the rub, he gets to move on. I think it's a win-win for everyone, and I think this is going to be the one where it has like a lot of hope spots. It's going to be like before Edge and Orton got boring at WrestleMania, where I was like, really, I'm like, oh my god, they're just beating the shit out of each other. I think this is what this is going to be. I think it's going to be like the fun part of that match, but in the ring.
Speaking of Edge and Orton's match, we have our main event for NXT in your house.
You're going Cross?
Oh yeah, I thought Cross was relevant because the question I asked was, is he going to be dominant or is this going to be just like
yeah?
Because I don't see him losing his debut pay-per-view match. Like they put a lot into him. You could tell they put a lot into him.
Well, I think he has the highest pay in NXT.
That entrance that he has, big time entrance.
He got offered the contract Hangman got offered last year. Before Hangman signed with AEW, like they offered him a shitload of money.
Well, that's good. I mean, he looks the part. He's 34, so I mean, you get 10 years out of him until he's 44. Sky's the limit. He could take you another, to the next decade. So, speaking of the main event, we're talking about Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream, the last chance backlock brawl for the NXT Championship. If Dream loses, he can no longer challenge for the NXT title while Adam Cole is still champion. So that little tidbit to me screams that Adam Cole is going to retain the title. I think that it'll be a very interesting matchup because I think it's one of those matches that's pre-taped, correct?
Yeah, it's been pre-taped. There's a lot of complaints from the Performance Center talent. The day of shooting, I believe last week there was a bad rainstorm. They were set to film at 8 p.m. There's like apparently like the set has like a bunch of cars with like their lights on, similar to like Cena and Guerrero, kind of back in the day on SmackDown.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. That was a good match.
That's a great. Man, those days were good.
Just because the talent involved, Mark, not the gimmick itself. Just the talent involved.
It was fine. It was not a WrestleMania match. It was very entertaining.
But yeah, I think there was complaints. They finally started filming at like midnight until 4 or 5 in the morning. It took them all night. And between that and then Performance Center talent that are a little bit above what we see at NXT, having to stay like it's just been a rough couple like tapings for everyone because they had to stand, no chairs. They got yelled at for standing and not looking enthusiastic enough.
God damn it, look enthusiastic.
At least the economy gives everyone like chairs in AEW.
Who's your pick?
Me, I'm gonna go Cole. And I'm not even touching like the rumors of people getting called up or anything like that. You can look into it all you want. I honestly think Cole's gonna win. I think, like you said, whoever beats Cole needs that kind of fan. Even the Performance Center talent is cool and it helps like kind of feel a little better. I think that's why Keith Lee this past week felt a little like back to where he was because he had people cheering. Even just that little bit of noise felt better.
Right.
But yeah, I think Cole's going to retain. I think this is where we see Kyle O'Reilly come back out of nowhere.
I'm going to go Cole too. All three of us picked Cole. 1 year and counting because I don't know the rumors that Carlos is talking about, but I don't think you can move Cole to a main roster if that is the rumor. He is NXT, and I think he is the Ric Flair of NXT from the 80s. Ric Flair to the NWA, and Cole is that to NXT. And I think that you need a guy like a Finn Balor or a Johnny Gargano to really be the one. I mean, they're already established, but you can't use Cole to
Oh, I like
establish.
that.
You need to have established talent take on established talent. So again, I'm Triple H books NXT. Adam Cole is like the Ric Flair. You know, he has the faction. They're a close knit group. He's a 1-year champion. I see somebody like a Finn Balor or like I don't know, it can't be Ciampa. You're not going to strap the Rock at the cross yet, even though I see him being a future NXT champion. So you have to have somebody kind of just like a Finn Balor.
Finn Balor's perfect. Yeah, he's the one. Like, I know you were talking about Walter earlier, but him versus Cole is the money match because I don't think we've ever gotten that. I don't think we've ever gotten that, at least not in WWE. It may have happened overseas.
We were going to, and they turned Balor heel.
Yeah.
And now Sanders the heel. Like that whole storyline was like, what was it done for?
Yeah. Well, I can see Finn Balor because you know what, Finn Balor. When you said Flair, I immediately thought of Balor as Sting. You know, like that's who I got from that. Like, and I can see because he's already established. He's already someone who the fans like and respect. But he's not like a cookie cutter babyface.
Right.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he has that. Again, we keep talking about that edge. I like the wrestlers with edge though, like the ones who, not to quote Edge, but they have that grit. You know, I was talking about like they had.
WWE failed that they never pulled the trigger on Balor, AJ Styles, and Gallows and Anderson. That right there, that faction could have took over everything. I don't care what the hell you called them. You could have called them Club Bullet, and people would have still been like, "Cool." Like,
I was like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand. Why not build on the history? Like, just why is WWE so afraid of history?
I have no idea. I mean, that's the number one thing I love about AEW. I mean, we're pretty much done with the matches. We've already made our predictions, so these last couple minutes will just be our last closing thoughts. It's obviously like a weird time in America and in the world, but you know, wrestling has definitely been a nice reprieve for a lot of people. But back to what we're talking about, transparency. AEW is at the forefront for transparency. They talk about COVID-19. They talk about the Black Lives Matter movement. They talk about everything. And that in itself, you know, makes me as a fan appreciate what I'm watching.
And they bring up WWE storylines from 10 years ago. So
yeah.
There's the other side
they don't pull the accomplishments away from these people. You know, like they talk about Ring of Honor and Colt Cabana, and like, you know, they don't make them feel less than.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine like Cole, like, and the rumor is just to clarify, Dream is being called up. That's the rumor is Dream Gang is being called up. But I didn't factor that into my decision. I honestly think that Cole's gonna win.
I don't think. Look, Velveteen Dream is great. He's very entertaining. I think he's gonna be a minnow in the ocean.
Yeah.
SmackDown.
That's my fear. Yeah, because he has everything he needs to be a world champion, and I thought it would have happened in NXT. Yeah,
not in the main roster. I don't ever think Vince will put the title on him.
No.
Like he's super entertaining in terms of how his takeover outfits are. Because I'm intrigued to how his takeover outfit will be for In Your House. Knowing him, he'll probably wear like a Mankind uniform for all I know.
I'm gonna guess Shawn Michaels. You know, Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, yeah, like you know, or Bret Hart. Who knows? Yeah. It could be any of those guys, and that's the great thing about Velveteen Dream. But like Mark said, the second he gets into the main roster, that whole gimmick is not going to stick because you already have like a super huge gimmick with someone like Bray Wyatt. So you can't put him on SmackDown.
No, and you're going to put him against Drew McIntyre?
Yeah, on Raw. Yeah. No, that's not going to work. And then if you already have, you know, Rollins going crazy in the middle line, you know, the middle storyline. So Raw is packed. SmackDown's kind of packed. You know, if I'm them, keep him on NXT. NXT needs the ratings.
And like I do want him to eventually go to the main roster because I think we all see the potential he can have. Like he is that all around talent. I think he's that guy we'll talk about in 20 years. Like, yeah, man, 5-time WWE champion, you know, something like that. But yeah, now I don't think now's the time either.
I don't know
That's
about
the thing that
5
worries-
time. I can see him winning like twice. He'll get the Dolph Ziggler treatment where he might win the Money in the Bank or something.
I know I can see him as multi like WWE champ. It
Like
depends
I-
on like how
like
the
I said,
transition goes.
Listen, the Undertaker is a 6-time world champion. You know what I'm saying? Like Vince doesn't really hand out world titles, and if he does, you're a champ for a while because he likes to keep whatever storyline he thinks he has going on. I mean, Jinder Mahal was the champ for 6 months?
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Like, when everybody knew he should lose it the next week, he won it.
And I guess I mean Cena's endorsement of him I guess means nothing, but that to me rang so true to where
John
like,
is a nice guy. Cena is a very nice guy. That's all I have to say about that.
I mean, like he from one guy to pick somebody, right? To see like he sees all these guys, and he mentioned them in that promo too. He mentioned them.
Listen, like I said, John Cena is so transparent about how he doesn't seek race, color, creed, or any of that. That I can see him doing something like giving him the cosign and the rub because he is a Canadian Indian. It's not very modern. And then like some kid could be at home watching that and be like, "Yo, that could be me. I can go to WWE and I could be champ." And I'm not saying that Jinder Mahal should never have been champ. I mean, probably should have from a storyline standpoint. At least they should have built him up a little bit better. But John Cena being nice, that's what I get from that.
yeah, and he's tried. I mean, and it's not even laugh for nothing. Like I could see him and like Cena and Dream having a match where they kind of like go all out, and even if Dream wins, like does Dream actually move forward? Like how many times have people won against Cena and they've done nothing ever since?
I don't see John Cena wrestling for like another 2 years. I think that Bray Wyatt thing is like a nice little swan song for a couple years, and then somebody can challenge him. Or if anything, he still has that record to break. He could come back for a 6-month tour and win the world title, break Ric Flair's record, and defend it every week type of dealio.
Do we,
I hope
Mark? I was like, I want Mark's opinion on this one.
no. I actually wanted to talk about my closing thoughts.
Yeah,
Not John Cena beating Ric Flair's title reigns, but
yeah.
rather the very good 2, count them 2, not 4, 2 very good promos by Tully Blanchard that were on AEW's social media, and asked Sean Spears to man up. What do you want out of this business? That was a great, phenomenal promo. This past week on AEW Dynamite, he gave Sean Spears the missing piece, the black glove, which I think is symbolic of Barry Windham. Barry Windham used to wear the black glove when he did the claw hold. I think, for some reason, I just think that this is going to lead to an FTR Sean Spears four group. I don't know if it's a foursome, a fivesome. This is going to lead to some faction that Tully Blanchard is going to be part of, and if they go in that direction, I'm giddy like a schoolboy. Okay.
I think that's a great idea. We talked already how many we love factions.
Well,
And
we've talked about that
correctly.
We've talked about that faction specifically because we've known, FTR's love for Tully and for Arn. I mean, obviously Arn's with Cody, but Tully, FTR, Sean Spears. Sean Spears can have that TNT title. He can get his revenge on Cody, take the belt from him, and then you go ahead and you get someone. I mean, maybe like even a Brian Cage, get Taz, with Brian Cage, be the muscle and go for the world title, multiple times or however you want to place it. There's your faction. You got the muscle, you got the smarts, and you got the tag team. And
it's somebody else to work off of the elite. This Inner Circle elite feud has been phenomenal to watch. I still think we're getting a blood and guts match somewhere down the road. But, the Dark Order, they need to be taken a little bit more seriously, and that could happen when you get Grayson people back. They're not there yet. Best Friends, Death Triangle. These are all factions that we really haven't, seen the full potential of. But could be feuding with a Sean Spears-led group with FTR in it, and you just have money being printed.
Hell, I mean, if you build this up right, and if this is like kind of weird future booking, when we eventually get Blood and Guts, you can have it not just be Inner Circle versus Elite, it could be Elite versus Inner Circle versus whatever Tully's group is.
Mm-hmm.
That would be badass, man.
And I just wanted to also say, we kind of kept our closing thoughts on a wrestling related, but with everything that's going on, in the fallout of all the riots and looting across America and the racial inequality, I just wanted to say that as a white American male who has been guilty of white privilege, that we need to do better as a country. We need to listen to our black brothers and sisters, and when they tell us that there is something wrong, we need to listen. And I just wanted to say that anything that we can do, I can do to help. I'm learning every day. I want to help any way I can. We've donated some money to some causes, and we just want you all to be careful out there and not hurt anybody, because that's going to send the wrong message too.
Yeah, definitely. I think what I'll do this week is I'll go ahead and I'll place a couple funds in our bio, and whoever wants to donate to those funds, they can go ahead and donate to those funds. Here at the Entrance Ramp, we're all for equality. We're all for everybody just loving wrestling, because that's what we love. And everybody in the wrestling industry loves everybody. There is no hate whatsoever. So everybody just continue to love each other, understand each other, and know that the wrestling community is there for you.
Yep. We're an outlet. We love you guys, and we'll always support you. Things need to change, and they will. They definitely
are. Yeah. They are.
I guess that's the place to end it then, guys. And
super excited for Sunday.
Yeah,
Sunday in your house. Big matches. Big
1995 coming back.
Todd Pettigrew already did an interview section, so
shout out to WWE as well for putting out some free content on their network for everybody to watch during these hard times. Go out and check out some old stuff, some new stuff, some tidbits, YouTube, all that good stuff.
Yeah, and that's in lieu of 1 free month. So they did away with the 1 free month if you sign up. Now they offered a free tier that you can have for a year, and you won't be able to watch all of the content, but you get a lot of the content, and it's very good stuff. So for Carlos, Nick, I am Mark. We thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all next week on the Entrance Ramp. Goodbye.
Along with Remy. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Entrance Ramp Podcast. Please like us on Facebook at the Entrance Ramp Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Entrance Ramp Pod, and subscribe to us on YouTube by searching for the Entrance Ramp Podcast. We'll see you next time.